Hello, World Wide Web. I'm Dr. Shado, the internet personality that's here, and welcome to the... What's the word I'm looking for here? Ah, yes, reaction review for Countdown, which just hit theaters technically today, but I watched it last night. But that's how it works this time. For the uninitiated, my reaction reviews are just simple. I just watched the movie. These are my first reactions, kind of a review, and I am possibly still going to do a proper long-form review later on, if I can get the DVD or the Blu-ray or what have you. And I'm going to try and be as spoiler-free as possible for the first half of this video, and last half I'm going to just dive into the spoilers willy-nilly. But Countdown. Yeah, I don't think anyone was really anticipating this being a major blockbuster amazing thing, but yeah, it is a pretty basic, more fun style horror. Like, not fun as in, oh my god, they're dying in so many interesting ways, and oh, it is hilarious, like Zombieland kind of just straight up comedy horror situation. It's fun horror as in just, it's set up in a way that's kind of to be scary, but it's just horror movie territory, so you're not really feeling too horrified when anyone dies. You're just like, oh, body count rises. And it does the job pretty well for what it has, but it also doesn't really try to make it any more than what it has. And in fact, it feels like it's got very little going for it because, well, the characters are about as one-note as possible. There's no nuance and depth. They are stereotypes, and this movie is also very, very much not timeless. This screams 2019 from every orifice. All of the characters are pretty much just one-note stereotypes, and they all are one-note stereotypes of 2019 stereotypes. Like, you have your priest that's really good with, you know, all of the biblical stuff. He is knowledgeable about all the stories, knows about all the little things here and there, because he's effectively a fanboy comic book geek character. He straight up says that the Bible is like the ultimate graphic novel. So they're not even trying to hide. This is clearly the stereotype they're going for. That's what he is, and that's how it's played. And yeah, for what it is, it's still a fun horror movie. It still has the basic, you know, the body count isn't so high that you don't care about some of the people that die. Every single one that goes, you pretty much know who they are. But of course, that's also because you pretty much know who they are within the first 2 seconds, because they are not particularly interesting. No one really is. Trying to think, who would be the deepest character? I guess the main lady, but only because she actually has aspirations and, like, a career and, like, things that she's planning in the future and stuff like that. Like, there's also the side guy, but he doesn't really show up until halfway in, and he's got a few plans for the future, but that's really not important. None of that really tells you anything about how he's going to act, what kind of person he is. He's just, you know, a helpful kind of guy. He's the good person. He's like the good-hearted man. There we go. But yeah, there's just plenty of just off one note kind of thing, and it's just like it's an enjoyable movie, I'd say. But it's not a movie that you're going to feel like, oh, I'm going to have to watch that again and again and again. But if you're having a, like, horror night, you might pop it on saying, hey, let's check out Countdown. Now, for those of you not familiar with the trailer pretty much says this, so I don't think this counts as a spoiler. But the basic idea in Countdown is that there is a smartphone app called Countdown that counts down the days, minutes, seconds until you die. And, you know, everyone's like, this is a silly little thing, because most of them it's like, a bunch of young people getting the app, and a lot of them it's telling them, hey, you're going to live for another 60 years. But then there's those that it tells them they're not living quite that long, and then turns out the accuracy of the app is pretty high, and people are like, oh my god, why is that? And That's generally the focus. It's kind of like, in a way, it has a bit of the Final Destination vibe, except mixed up a bit, which I say is a little bit impressive, considering the fact that the Final Destination guys couldn't figure out how to mix up the formula. So there's that. I've seen some reviews for Countdown that say that because it's not like Final Destination with a Rube Goldberg death mechanic to watch for, I guess that was the big appeal to Final Destination, because I really didn't frickin' care. Like, there was no out. It was what it was. And for the most part in Countdown, that's kind of what you get. But they do mix things up a little bit. And it, the deaths themselves are a lot more, like, supernatural and just, like, monster kind of thing. You don't have a huge setup of, oh, look at all this weird stuff going on, and then it leads to their death. It's like, no, they died because monster attack. So, you know, that's fine by me. I find that perfectly horrifying. I don't need to see a bunch of little things going off like Waterworld that leads to a person getting torn in half. And when it comes to the overall quality, it's just, it has a decent presentation, the acting is passable, the characters are just stock as all hell, and one of the main plot points is just kind of forced and doesn't make sense, and it's just, it ends on some, the worst sequel bait that I've seen in possibly all my years of seeing sequel bait. I've seen some lazy sequel bait in my time, but dear God, it was just not, like, you could have just, it would have been so much better to just not have that. Even if you do have a sequel and it does follow that, just don't have that. Don't fucking lead into it that way. That is so bad. But still fun, still watchable, still enjoyable for just a movie night with your friends who like to have a few brews and put on a horror movie and have a chortle. So I'd say it's worth a good 2 out of 5. It's, you know, could have been a 3 if it weren't for some pretty odd things going on with the plot around the climax, and the terrible sequel bait, and the one-note characters. It doesn't really even get to the point of a 3 out of 5 that way. It is very, very simple. It knows it's simple. It's trying to be simple, and there's nothing wrong with that. You can still enjoy this movie. It's just, it's Countdown. So, with that countdown out of the way, I think it's about time to rip into the spoilers. The spoilers of this review. So, exactly what is the catalyst? What's the start? How does Countdown get started? Well, Countdown gets started because Countdown has started. That's pretty much it. The opening of the movie, it's a bunch of teens at a party. It's the it's the teen girl who's gonna die in the opening trope. And all teens around the party, and one of them's talking about how they're losing weight, and it's great. They got this new app called Countdown to Health or something like that, and it's an odd thing in Countdown where everyone has smartphones, but they had to have gotten them, like, on a bulk sale because everyone has the exact same dimension of smartphone. And if you know anything about smartphones, you know they come in all kinds of shapes and sizes. They got some nice looking ones for this movie. It's not like they cheapened out on the smartphones effectively, but everyone has a giant ass, like, Galaxy Note smartphone. So it's like, these guys are fucking rolling, but okay. But everyone at the table has their matching smartphones. And the ones talking about, they got, like, Countdown to Health, Countdown to fucking Thinness. I can't remember what it's called. It's Ring Fit Adventure on your smartphone. And they're like, it's doing great. They're losing weight. They're happy about this. And the other person's looking for it, and they're like, is this it? And it's just Countdown, the evil app. The app that tells you when you die. And everyone's like, no, that's not it. But what the fuck is that? And I'm like, it's cool. Let's just, like, fucking download this and find out. So they all download it, and it has a little terms of service, and they're like, yeah, agree, whatever. And then it's, everyone's looking, and the couple download it, and it says that they're gonna live for, like, 30 more years, 50 more years, one guy is like 20 more years, and no one's really, like, even the guy who's got 20 years left, he's just like, ha, what a silly little app. And then they all decide that, hey, whoever is the one to have the shortest lifespan according to this app, therefore, they are the one that has to drink everyone's drinks. That's our new drinking game. Everyone download this app right now, so they all download the app right then, and everyone's looking and saying this, compare, and then the main girl, no, not main girl yet, but the dies in opening girl is looking at her phone, and she's like, it says I have 3 hours. And they're like, well, you drink then! And then her boyfriend comes over to save her from that. And just, he accepts taking all the drinks instead. Like, how nice of him. Up until they go to drive home, which he is still absolutely shit-faced. I understand they were at a party, and he did do a lot of drinking at that table, but how fucking strong were those drinks that they were drinking if, like, 3.5 hours later, he is still absolutely wasted? Maybe the guy's a real lightweight, I don't know. But, you know, you can see where this is going. He's getting in the car to drive, even though, like, I'm pretty sure she should have a license too, like... He's like, we should drive home. She's like, you can't drive. And instead of her just driving, she's like, no, I'm gonna walk. So she gets out of the car, and he's there driving like alongside her slowly, like, come on, get in. And then she's like, no, I can walk home. And she can. Home is like, something like 100 feet away or less. It's not far. It's not a long walk. I have no idea why they brought the car in the first place. But yeah, she's there just, you know, walking instead of getting in the car with him, and then he's like, oh, fine, screw you, and drives off, proving that he's still a dickhead, so it's like, okay, that's cool. And, then she gets a little alert on her countdown app saying that she has breached the terms and conditions. And so we start seeing weird shit coming, the thing's still counting down, saying she has just a couple of minutes left to live. She still makes it home in that time, and still has a few minutes left by the time she does. And she's there like, I don't know what's going on. And eventually, as the night goes on, she is freaking out, looking at every corner. The phone's just giving off notifications that sound like the little... You know those little candy bowls for Halloween that have a motion detector and they move a little and they go... Ah! Yeah, that's the sound of the notifications for the Countdown app. They were like, you know what? Let's not even try to hide how cheesy this shit is. Let's just... Ah! There we go. There we go. You're gonna die in like a minute. Ah! 30 seconds. Ah! 10 seconds. Woo-hoo! You're scared now, aren't you? And... eventually, she's just like pulled, like it's like 3 seconds left, and pulled out of frame by some supernatural force. You hear struggling, screaming, see the countdown going, like 3, 2, 1, body drop, sharp, boom, crack head on the tub, boom, 0, you're dead. And that was pretty cool in my opinion. And then it goes over to the boyfriend, who has, in his drunken driving, ended up in a traffic accident with a tree. I have no idea what the tree was doing in the road, but still. He crashed into a tree, and a branch had slammed through the passenger side, right where she would have been sitting. And I'm just thinking, you know, technically he didn't drink all that much until she downloaded the app, so... whatever. But that's that, and we then move on to the actual main girl, and she's what the hell is she? She's working to become an actual nurse at this hospital, and she's like right on the last day, like we're in the middle of her getting the promotion, and she's so happy about that, and it's great, and she's got, her plans going on. Her mother's dead. Her little sister hates her for it. Her father's like proud of her for her accomplishments, but he's kind of dirty and like we don't see much of him. Like he's just kind of in the background. But they're all planning in a couple of days, going down and putting some fresh flowers on Mama's grave for her birthday. And she's like, cool, yeah, I'll totally show up for that. And then everyone at the hospital, like, someone has the little countdown app, and well, haha, so funny. And so everyone starts downloading it and stuff, and like, there's one guy is like, yeah, I'm gonna live, like, until I'm 93, and the other one's like, oh, I'm gonna live till 88, and I don't run 5 miles every day, I fucking eat bonbons and smoke weed, I don't fucking know. I'm not gonna say that at my job, but I probably do, fuck it. And so they're all comparing back and forth and stuff, and so main girl downloads it, and it's like, you have 2 days and 20 hours to live, you dead bitch. So that's a little more time to actually get a movie out of it. And so she's there like, the fuck. She decides, hey, you know what, that's around the same time I'm scheduled to go down and see my dead mama, so, I think I'm just gonna change plans, not gonna get on that train. No, I'm gonna call and cancel. She calls and she cancels, and then, boom, you have breached the terms and conditions. And so it's like, okay, breach my terms and conditions, or whatever the fuck. And she starts seeing some shit too, and then, her higher up doctor man, this is like a main plot thing, and it's still kind of like, what? Higher up doctor man corners her and attempts to, you know, like, force himself on her. Very bad thing. She very strongly tells him no, and after about the 8th time, he backs off. And she tries to go and tell someone about it, but that someone gets called away immediately. And then she gets called in later to a big meeting for everyone else, because Dr. Man, who tried to force himself on her, told all of them that she tried to force herself on him. And for some fucking reason, anyone even believes him, and isn't just, like, patting him on the back like, yeah, you go, playboy. But everyone's really concerned about him, and really suddenly just hates her and her predator ass. And she's there like, but that's not what happened. He did that to me. And, like, no one fucking believes her, just out of... just out of hand. No one fucking believes her. Everyone fucking believes him. And it's like, okay, that's the thing. And that's a very important thing for the plot and towards the climax. And it's, okay. But, yeah, she's there, she's seeing weird shit, and the phone's going and telling her she gonna die soon, and so she's like, you know, fuck this app. I'm gonna delete this shit, and the shit won't delete, and so she's like, okay, fuck it. I'm gonna go, and I'm gonna buy a new phone, new number, nothing to link it to my old account at all, just new. So she does, and then it auto-downloads itself onto it. And she's like, the fuck is this? And, like, it's just, the guy selling the phones is just like, you know, whatever. He's a tech head, but doesn't care too much about things, you know. He offered to jailbreak the phone for her for another little bit of money, but, you know, whatever. And, so the countdown app's still there, she's all flustered about that, so she tries to leave. She's still seeing shit. She almost runs the guy over. He's like, the fuck. And then she starts seeing more shit, and she slams into his car, and then he's like, what the fuck? But then, good guy comes out of the store. He also has the app. He also has been seeing it telling him that he's going to die in just a couple of days. And he also has been having trouble getting rid of it. So he knows what she's going through. And so he comes to save her, and tells that man that he just found out he's gonna die in a couple of days, and he doesn't have any problem taking a white man down with him. And it's like, you know, that guy, he just almost got ran over and then got his car slammed into. I think he's kind of in the right for being pissed off here, but okay. It's just a quick little thing. He gone, little crisis averted there, and that gets the two of them together. And so they start talking about, okay, what's going on here, what's going on there, we're seeing weird shit. My phone said I breached the terms of service when I changed my schedule after I found out I was going to die during a thing. And the new guy was like, hey, I also saw I was scheduled to take a trip during that time, so I canceled the trip, and it told me I breached the terms of service. What are the terms of service? I don't know, I didn't read them. Well, I can't get back to it. Oh shit, we gotta get someone else to get the app so that we can read these terms of service. And it just so happens at that dive bar they're in, there's a very loud guy. He's like the only other guy in the bar. Like, there are more people, but they're like way in the background, in the part that is pretty much just do not care about any of the people standing around here. Was there even a bartender? Like, effectively in the active area of acting? Or was just those two there, having their beers, that they are, like, I wouldn't say nursing, it's like they're completely full, and they occasionally take, like, a little tiny sip. It's like, they didn't, they might have used real beer for that shot. That could be it. I don't know. They were just not drinking much there at all. But there's the one other guy, down on the side, and he's there very loudly talking about the Illuminati and the Flat Earth, and just, like, as many crackpot conspiracy theory kind of things, stereotypes from 2019 as you can think of, came out of his mouth. So they're like, you know what? He's a perfect candidate. Let's have him download the app real quick so we can just look over those terms of service real fast. So they get him to download the app, and they start looking at, they stop him and they start scrolling through his phone looking at the terms of service, and they see the obvious thing. They don't, like, the terms of service are really fucking long, like any terms of service. And they skim the hell out of it anyway, and they find the one part where it's like, you have to pretty much accept your fate. If you do anything to alter your fates with information garnered from this app, you have breached the terms. And it's like, oh, that must have been what we did. I was like, well, we could have just figured that out from what you did, but okay. So they try and get some kind of, like, I'm trying to remember exactly, is it's not the most memorable thing where they go from that point to the next point, but the basic thing is they go to a priest to try and get help with, anything at all with the demonic nature of this shit. And the priest they go to is like, yeah, demons are like metaphors and shit. It's like, you don't believe in demons, like, on the literal sense? No. I know someone who does, and they go down to the stoner priest. He's there smoking weed and eating communion wafers, waiting for his Grubhub to show up, and they start showing the stuff, and he brings out all the lore. He's like, hey, this is like this old story where this guy is like, I want to go do this battle, so you're going to tell me, am I going to live or not? Am I going to win this battle? And she come back with a list, and that list of numbers of time that he has left is pretty much the same setup as the smartphone app. And she's like, no, you gonna die. And he's there like, or am I? Maybe my little brother can go and fight that battle instead. So he has his little brother go and fight that battle instead, and his little brother wins. His little brother kicks ass, takes names, no problem. But that demon that is, like, involved in it, there's that thing about finding out the number was a deal with a demon, and if you try and change that, that's not good. You breach the terms of service, effectively. And they come and torture you for a while up until you are supposed to die, and then you're killed anyway. You can't change your fate after finding out about it that way. So it's like, shit, what do we do? And so they're trying to figure out how exactly to deal with this problem, and so they figure, okay, I know that guy who says he could jailbreak the phone. He could probably hack the app that I can't figure out how to even delete. He could hack the app, and we could get something done with it. So I have no idea why they think this is a good idea when it's like, oh, you can't fucking change your fates or you breach the terms of service. So let's hack the app and change the numbers of our fate, because that's totally different. So they go back there, they have the guy hack the app, he finds out it's 60 fucking gigabytes in size, and that's a big goddamn red flag right there. I'm like, wait a fucking minute. A lot of phones out there won't even be able to hold this goddamn app, and how in the fuck did everyone at the party just fucking download it in seconds? What the hell kind of Wi-Fi are they on? Holy shit. So, yeah, a 60 gig app that just is a really, really fast downloader, I gotta say. And so they go through the code and they find some stuff in Latin, take a picture, and then they're like, okay, what's going on here and there and there? And they change the numbers around to change their fate, and they're like, ha, job done. And then, of course, later on, it just auto-updates and their fate's back to the same number it was before. Oh dear, who could have seen that coming? But when they dove in, they also found out that little sister was going to die during the trip, too. Yeah, she was going there, you could have figured that out, too, but, yeah, little sister going to die there, too, so fuck. And then they go and they take the Latin to Stoner Priest, and he pretty much translates it to find out that this is a curse. And he's like, that's a good thing. It's like, it's not good to be cursed, but it means we can work with this. There are ways to break curses. And the basic gist is that the devil is the ultimate liar, and if you can prove them to be a liar, then you break the curse. So all they had to do was figure out a way to change a fate without, well, you know, it would be a breach of the terms, of course, but it's like, they would have to make it so someone either dies before the timer is up, or they would live just 1 second longer than the timer, and then boom, curse broken. So they go about that idea, and they're like, okay, simple. New friend is going to die a couple of hours before everyone else, or 1 hour before everyone else, I can't remember exactly what. So we're going to make a nice salt circle, and the right kind of symbols and such, and we're going to keep all the evil spirits out, and we're going to just let them survive 1 second longer, and boom, that's it, curse broken. So they make the circle, it's working, and then he sees his dead little brother that he stole the toy from, and he's like, ah, shit. And instead of, like, concentrating on the fact that, hey, you're in the middle of a very important kind of don't break the salt circle kind of situation, he just breaks the salt circle, walks over that way anyway, and he's like, yeah, I'm gonna fucking, like, be all apologetic and stuff, and then, of course, grabbed by demons, dragged out into the street, hit by car, boom, boom, boom. That's it for them, right on schedule. And so, after that, even though the salt circle was working until he just fucking walked out of it, clear thing, don't do that, they can't just do the salt circle thing again. They have to go to the hospital because little sister was there and she got a little bit of, like, shrapnel or something in her from all the shit going on. And so they have to take her to the hospital to make sure she's okay, even though now they only have like 20 minutes left. But douchebag, rapey, motherfucking higher-up is there too. And he's supposed to live until he's 93. So lady figures out, hey, if I fucking murder him, the curse is broken. So she tempts his ass into the little, the restricted area, the part that's sectioned off that no one's allowed to fucking go in. And, yeah, it's got asbestos and problems like that. It's got to be worked on and what have you, but basically right now it's just quarantined off. So it lures him over there for some sexy time, and then tries to kill him, and fails. She beats him pretty badly with a crowbar, but the demons is there protecting his ass because he can't die, because effectively, while you can't change your fate from, hey, I'm going to die in a couple of days, so I'm going to change things around so I don't die, it also works the other way, where if you're not going to die for another 80 years, you are pretty much now invulnerable. Nothing can kill you. Some supernatural shit is going to happen to save your life. It's kind of an interesting balancing. So he kept getting saved over and over again. And then eventually he gets away, and the little sister's there. She's got like a couple minutes less time than main girl. And main girl is there like, I got this poison shit in the syringe that I can fucking just, you know what? I'm gonna do the right thing. Slam into myself. Drink. There we go. I'm dead. And then the demon gone. Curse broken. Demon doesn't know what the fuck to do about that one. That's it. Little sister there, sad as shit. And rolls like her oldest sister over and finds out she has another vial of magical comeback from dead, like, chemical, and another syringe, and a little circle to, like, inject here. And they did establish this drug earlier, but as far as I could tell, it wasn't to take someone literally back from the dead. It was to save someone from the brink of death. And as far as I know, with the curse, she should be dead. You can't just take someone back from the dead with a shot in the... I don't know. Maybe Satan is a little more of a stickler for, well, they're legally dead, so, the curse is broken. Fuck. So, yeah. So it injects that into her, and she's fine. She broke the curse, and she gets to live. Even though she broke the curse by dying early. But fuck it. She's fine. And... Though she had been recovered... but then the little sister stayed longer than that, so I guess that would still break the curse. But, yeah. But then... That's all said and done. Happy ending. Turns out the rapey higher-up had been rapey with a lot of women, and now that, like, 3 of them have come forward, now they're gonna do something about it. Instead of saying, you know, the fact that this guy keeps coming in here and swearing up and down that every single hot young intern just so happens to be all over him, and it's really uncomfortable for him, now is the time we're gonna question that. Okay. So, it's like, that's, tie up that loose end. They all go to see dead mama on her birthday, on schedule, and they somehow don't die this time. It's like, they just, even though they were supposed, were they gonna show up, like, 2 days before her birthday? I don't know. Or maybe that was next year. I'm not sure. But then, the sequel bait happens. The phone vibrates and says, Countdown 2.0! Update installed. And I'm like, that is so fucking stupid and lazy and just absolutely no thought put into it. And it's like, oh, that is the worst sequel bait I have ever seen. And I've seen some pretty shitty sequel bait. But overall, as a fun little horror romp, I found Countdown to be okay. It was pretty jump scare heavy, which wasn't the best thing, but at least most of the time the jump scares were of actual, like, demons and shit, and not just, hey, it's your friend and he's scaring you. They had a couple of things sort of like that, but not really. Like, there was a part where she was sleeping in her car, and she has this nightmare thing where, you know, I was a zombie or dead thing, some horror shit knocking on the window at her. She wakes up in fear from that in her car, and then there's her co-worker, like, knocking on her window, like, hey, are you alright? Yeah, that one circumvented the your friend scared you trope, and I feel like that doesn't really count as a your friend scared you situation for a jump scare. So, but the jump scares are pretty heavy, so if you don't care for jump scares, you're not gonna care for Countdown. But, the whole thing with the demonic plot thread and the contract and deals with the devil, all of that kind of working with the supernatural flair, I feel like that actually worked out pretty well for being such a silly concept. Also, if you do go see this, there is it's not really an after-credit scene, they don't have an after-credit scene, but like a minute or 30 seconds into the credits scene, they have a bit there. It's, you can skip it if you want, it's really not scary or funny, but it's there in case you want to watch the whole movie. So, yeah. Yeah. So, I guess that about covers it. So, Countdown, about 2 out of 5, I'd say. It's got fun moments, it's entertaining enough for what it is, you might be able to throw it on for just general horror movie night, but it's not something that you're going to be like, wow, that was really well written, or oh, those effects really impressed, or that was quite an interesting take on this kind of concept. It's just it's kind of a little mix-up of of the Final Destination concept, which I was never the biggest fan of anyway, so oh well. Thank you all for watching. I've been Shado, and remember, Countdown is an actual app that you can actually download. But I don't think it's actually 60 gigabytes, thank fuck.